For generations, African Americans have yearned to know more about their history. A history often stolen or lost during the transatlantic slave trade. Tracing one's roots back to Africa is a deeply personal experience. It's about reclaiming heritage, honoring ancestors, and understanding our connections. Witness the power of discovering one's roots. Prepare to be inspired by their stories and the emotional impact of reconnecting with their African heritage. Dr. King's fight for civil rights in America was deeply intertwined with his belief in the interconnectedness of all people. He saw the struggle for equality as a global movement, fueled by Africa's history and diaspora. Dr. King's connection to Africa wasn't just philosophical, it was deeply personal. He recognized the shared heritage of African Americans and saw the continent as a source of strength and inspiration. Malcolm X's journey to Mecca was a turning point, embracing a broader vision of Islam and Pan-Africanism. He saw African American struggles as part of the fight for African liberation. Malcolm X's legacy inspires generations to connect with their roots and fight for justice. When Michelle Obama traced her roots to West Africa, it was a deeply moving experience that enriched her understanding of family history. Her journey shows the power of DNA testing and genealogical research in piecing together family trees and uncovering hidden heritage. Barack Obama's story is unique with a connection to Africa that is both ancestral and contemporary. His father, Barack Obama Sr., was from Kenya, and the president's visits to his homeland were deeply meaningful. Obama's story highlights the evolving relationship between Africa and its diaspora. Webb Du Bois was a visionary leader who dedicated his life to fighting for African rights worldwide. He believed in education and Pan-African unity for liberation and progress. Spending his final years in Ghana showed his commitment to the continent. Du Bois's legacy inspires activists and scholars for a just and equitable world. Oprah Winfrey's journey to discover her roots took her to Liberia, Guinea, and Cameroon, where she connected with relatives and learned about her ancestors' rich cultural heritage. The experience was deeply emotional and transformative, deepening her understanding of her identity. For legendary music producer Quincy Jones, discovering his Kenyan ancestry through DNA testing was a revelation. It deepened his understanding of his musicality and connection to the rhythms and melodies of the African diaspora. His story highlights African music's influence on global culture and the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade. Whoopi Goldberg's journey to uncover her roots led her to Guinea-Bissau and the Papal and Bayote people. Her discovery highlighted the diversity of African cultures and the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade. Her story reminds us that even centuries later it's possible to piece together the past and reclaim a lost heritage. When Samuel L. Jackson traced his ancestry to Gabon, he was so moved that he became a citizen. His journey shows the powerful pull of ancestral lands and the desire to connect with one's roots. His story inspires others to make a similar pilgrimage. Chadwick Boseman's legacy as an actor is intertwined with his portrayal of powerful black figures, including King T'Challa in Black Panther. His story reminds us of the power of art to connect us to our history and heritage. When Tina Turner discovered her roots in Nigeria, specifically with the Yoruba people, it added another dimension to her artistry. Her story highlights the influence of African music and dance on global culture and the enduring legacy of the transatlantic slave trade. When Erykah Badu traced her lineage to Nigeria, it deepened her understanding of her artistic voice and her place in black musical expression. Her story shows music's power to transcend borders and connect us to our shared heritage. When Nas discovered his connections to Nigeria, specifically the Yoruba and Hausa people, it deepened his understanding of his heritage and his place in the world. His story shows music's power to tell stories, preserve history, and connect us to our roots. When Kanye West discovered his connection to the Yoruba people, it opened new creative avenues and deepened his artistic voice. His story highlights African culture's global influence. When John Legend traced his heritage to the Kenyan coast, it added a new layer of meaning to his music and his understanding of his identity. His story reminds us that our roots run deep, and discovering our heritage enriches our lives. When Forrest Whitaker discovered his Igbo roots, it deepened his understanding of his heritage and his connection to Africa. His story highlights African cultural diversity and the importance of celebrating differences. Isaiah Washington's journey to trace his roots led him to Sierra Leone, where he reconnected with his ancestry and became a dual citizen. His commitment to Sierra Leone inspires others to make a difference in the African diaspora. When Don Cheadle discovered his ancestry among the Kenyan Luo people, it deepened his understanding of his identity and place in the world. His story shows the importance of exploring heritage and embracing our ancestry. When Morgan Freeman traced his lineage to Niger and other West African countries, it deepened his understanding of his heritage and his place in the world. His story reminds us that our roots run deep, and discovering our heritage enriches our lives in countless ways. Halle Berry's journey to uncover her roots shows the power of genealogical research in helping African Americans piece together their family trees and reclaim their lost heritage. Her discovery of her African ancestry deepened her understanding of her identity and her place in the world. Her story inspires others searching for their own ancestral connections. When LeBron James connected with his African heritage through DNA testing, it deepened his understanding of his strength and resilience. His story reminds us that our genetic makeup is a tapestry of our ancestors' journeys, and we carry their legacy within us. When Serena Williams discovered her Nigerian roots, specifically among the Yoruba people, it added deeper meaning to her achievements. Her story highlights the strength of the human spirit and the power of connecting with heritage. When Muhammad Ali traced his lineage to the Mandinka people in Gambia, it deepened his understanding of his heritage and his commitment to justice and equality. His story reminds us that our roots are a source of strength as we navigate the complexities of the world. When Shaquille O'Neal traced his lineage to Nigeria, it deepened his understanding of his heritage and connection to Africa. His story highlights African cultural diversity and the importance of celebrating differences. When Maya Angelou reconnected with Ghana, where she spent several years, it deepened her understanding of her heritage and connection to Africa. Her story reminds us that our roots can be a source of strength as we navigate life's complexities. Alex Haley's novel Roots traced his family's history back to the Gambia, sparking a national conversation about race, identity, and slavery's legacy. His story shows the power of storytelling to preserve history, heal wounds, and connect us to our roots. Ta-Nehisi Coates's exploration of his West African heritage adds depth to his understanding of the Black experience and the ongoing struggle for equality. His story reminds us that personal histories intertwine with larger narratives of race, culture, and identity. When Andrew Young traced his ancestry to Senegal and Ghana, it deepened his commitment to fostering positive relationships between the continents. His story reminds us that our roots can inspire us to work towards a just and equitable world. Colin Powell's African heritage shaped his worldview and commitment to his country. His story shows our roots influence our paths and inspire us to make a difference. When Robert F. Smith discovered his roots in Mali and other parts of West Africa, it inspired him to invest in the continent's future. His story is a testament to the power of giving back and using resources to create opportunities for others. As we've journeyed through the stories of these remarkable individuals, we've witnessed the power of discovering one's roots. It's a journey that transcends borders and time, connecting us to a rich tapestry of history and pride. The search for identity is universal, and for many African Americans, tracing their ancestry back to Africa is essential. Explore your family history, delve into your cultural heritage, and embrace your unique story. You never know what you might find, but the journey will be transformative.